Good morning or afternoon or whatever time of day it is that you're viewing this video. My name is Mrs. Dragoo, and today we're going to talk about the parts of the stage and body positions for actors. Before we begin, what I'd like for you to do is just get focused by putting away anything that might be distracting you. Take 3 deep breaths. Here we go. Take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and again in through your nose, out through your mouth, and one more time, deep in through your nose, hold it, and let it out. Good. Now get comfortable because today, this lesson is going to help you as an actor to be able to understand what an actor needs to know to follow directions. Your objective today is that you'll be introduced to stage directions and you'll be able to identify all of the stage directions, and you'll be able to identify and use body positions while you're on stage. So let's talk about, don't you love my transitions in this? Let's talk about 3 different types of stages. Well, most areas or schools have one of 3 different types of stages. There's the proscenium stage. That's the stage that is on the very first one that you see. There's a stage with an apron in front, and the audience sits on one side. A thrust stage is the second image that you see there, and it's a stage where the stage is thrust into the audience, and the audience sits on 3 sides, hence the name thrust. And the third type of stage is an arena stage. This is basically a square or a circle where the audience sits on all 3 sides. Usually, every school has an arena stage. That's known as your gymnasium, where audience can be on all 4 sides when you are at a pep rally, right? Some schools have a black box, which allows you to have an arena stage or a thrust stage. So let's look at examples of each of these, okay? The proscenium, it comes from a Greek word, proskenion, which means in front of the scene. It's going to look like a picture frame, but the audience sits directly in front of the stage and faces it. If you have a theater in your school, you most likely have a proscenium stage. It could be a cafetorium where the stage is right in front, or it could be an auditorium where you have an audience that sits facing the stage. The side of the stage that faces the audience is referred to as what we call the 4th wall. This is a theater convention. Inside the stage, you have a back wall, 2 side walls, and the invisible wall that the audience sees the play is called the 4th wall. The proscenium arch was developed in the 17th century theaters, and this is the arch that you see as you're looking in to the stage from the audience. This is an example of a proscenium stage with the curtain closed. This is another example of a more elaborate proscenium stage. The audience sits in front, slightly to the side of that proscenium arch. Okay, let's talk about a thrust stage. This is my favorite kind of stage because I work in the thrust stage, and it's fun and intimate, and the audience can really get into the performance. It's also known as a platform stage or an open stage. It extends into the audience on 3 sides and is connected to a backstage area, which is its upstage end. In a performance, you employ a 4th wall. That imaginary wall must be maintained on all 3 sides. So you keep actors moving when you're on the thrust stage, and it's okay to turn your back to the audience on a thrust stage as long as you don't stay in that position. It gives you a more intimate space. Our space seats 180, whereas our proscenium stage seats 500. So it gives you a smaller audience, but it's much more intimate, and the audience can be much more connected to the performance. This is an example of a thrust stage. It also has a proscenium that kind of gives you an upstage, backstage area. This is another example of a very famous thrust stage called the Globe Theatre in London. I've actually been there, and it's really cool to be able to stand and walk around as you watch the performance. Now let's talk about an arena stage. Very few schools have one unless you have a black box or you do performances in your gym. This can be any theater space. It can be outside, it can be inside, it could be your gym, but it's a space where the audience surrounds the acting area. In 1947, Marco Jones established America's first arena stage called Theater 47 in Dallas, Texas. Theater in the round presents problems since actors at all times have their back to some members of the audience, but it can be really fun because you need very little scenery. This is an example of an arena stage. The audience is on all four sides. And this is an example of an arena stage. I actually had the opportunity to see into the woods in an arena stage. You have many entrances and exits, but very little scenery. So it's all about the acting and the lighting and the costumes. Okay, stage directions. If you've been involved in theater for any amount of time, you may have heard the terms stage right, stage left, center stage. These are what we call stage directions. The proscenium and the thrust are done by having the stage divided into 9 quadrants. And the area, or the arena stage, is done by having clock directions because you don't have any one side, right? So let's talk about the basic setup of the proscenium and thrust stage directions. Okay, first of all, everything we're doing is from the actor's point of view. We have right and left. House right is to the audience's right. House left is to the audience's left. But an actor's stage right is your right if you're standing on stage. This is my stage right. You're looking at it as left, but stage right, if I'm the actor, is this way. Stage left for the actor, me, is that way. So you have to think of your stage directions, right and left, as the actor's point of view. Downstage is always closest to the audience, and upstage is far away from the audience. This is because in the early days of theater, stages were raked like this. Downstage was closest to the audience, and the further away you got from the audience, you were going up, so it's called upstage. Here's proscenium and thrust stages diagram. If you're looking at this, now notice that the right and left are opposite to where you're sitting because you have to take into consideration this is from the actor's point of view. There are 9 areas. You have up right, up center, up left, center right, center stage, center left, down right, down center, and down left, and then of course your apron. When you're having to look at this on a piece of paper, it's opposite from what you're looking at. So if I'm the actor and my director tells me to go to center left, I go that way because this is my left. If the director tells me to go up right, I go that way because this is my right. So now let's take a look at some body positions. Body positions are important because this helps the actor understand how your body can present emotion and can tell the audience something about your character. There are 8 different body positions. The body can be at different levels, which creates different pictures. For example, sitting, kneeling, lying down, being on a platform, or sitting on someone's shoulders even. But the vocabulary involved involves blocking, upstaging, sharing, giving, taking, stealing, crossing, and countercrossing. So what we want to think about is, 1, you don't want to block other actors and you want to be able to move around on the stage. Upstaging is where you unintentionally, and that's the key word, unintentionally take the attention away from the main actor and you become the main attention. We don't want to do this. We don't want to ever have to upstage, turn in such a way that we're giving focus to something that doesn't need our focus. Sharing is sharing the stage. Giving is giving attention. Taking is taking attention. Stealing is just that, stealing attention, inadvertently or intentionally stealing focus. Actors do this when they want to get a lot of attention. Most immature actors will do things like make funny faces or pick their nose or do something crazy while the important stuff is happening. A cross is moving from one point on the stage to another, and a counter cross is moving from one place to another as another actor moves from one place to another. Okay, so let's look at each of those body positions. Oh, cheating. That's one other thing. When you're cheating, it's not what you think, right? You're turning your body so that you're giving the audience a chance to see you communicate, and it's actually only turning your upper body out so the audience can see you speak. Okay, so let's look. This is a drawing from an old textbook I have, but it's a great example of what the actor's body positions are. If you look, you've got full front, 1/4, profile, 3/4, and full back. I have some examples for you to see, but this is a good illustration, even though it's very old, about how you might stand on stage. And each of these body positions would tell the audience something specific about your character. Here's an example of full back and full front. Okay, these are the easiest. You're standing straight, looking straight at the audience, or you have your back to the audience, full back and full front. Then we also have 3/4 turn right and 3/4 turn left. This is where you're turning up stage away from the audience, but not full back, just a bit, 3/4 of the way. Examples of a 1/4 turn right and a 1/4 turn left. These are the only pictures we could find for this, but it's just turning slightly so that you're not facing directly to the audience, but you've turned slightly. They can still see you, they can still understand you, but you slightly turned. And then you have profile positions. Profile positions are not always the best. If I were to turn profile and teach my lesson like this, it would be very boring because all you get is my ugly profile with my ugly neck and stuff like that. So what you want to do is avoid profile unless your director specifically tells you to be profile. Okay, so let's review. There are 3 types of stages. The arena stage, where the audience is on all 3 sides. On all 4 sides, the thrust stage, where the audience is on 3 sides, and the proscenium, where the audience is on 1 side. We have stage directions. Remember, there are 9 areas, and those 9 areas are based on center, center right, center left, and up stage right and left, and up down stage right and left and center. And remember, your stage directions are from the actor's point of view. The body positions, just like in this picture, are full front, like I'm standing, 1/4, profile, 3/4, and then full back, which I'm not going to do because I don't want to turn my back on you. Okay, so going back, remember this as you are learning to follow directions. When your director tells you where to go on stage, you'll know it's from your point of view as the actor, right or left. Remember, if your director gives you a body position to turn, this is because your director understands blocking and how to give and take and understands how the scene needs to proceed with where you're standing. Okay, wonderful. So I hope that this gives you a little more information about the stage and how you can stand. What you need to do now is just to commit this to your memory. Go back through the video, make sure you understand the stage directions, the 3 different types of stages, and the body positions. Have a wonderful day.